I wasn't looking for anything. That's the part that still gets me. I was just cleaning. Nothing serious. One of those quiet evenings where the house feels too calm. She was in the kitchen on the phone, laughing in that light, easy way I hadn't heard in a while. I opened a drawer to clear out some space. That's when I saw it. An envelope, crumpled, pushed to the back like it didn't matter, like it was already forgotten, or meant to be. I almost threw it away without checking. Almost, but something about it felt off. I opened it. Photos slid out first. My wife, and a man I didn't recognize, standing too close, smiling too comfortably. Then came the receipts. Hotels, dates, late nights, dates I remembered clearly. Nights she told me she was working late. My chest tightened. My hands went cold. From the kitchen, I could still hear her laughing. Like nothing was wrong. Like I wasn't standing there holding proof that everything was. I didn't say anything. I didn't call out. I just stood there, staring at the life I thought I had, falling apart in my hands. And in that moment, I made a decision I never thought I would. I stayed quiet, because if she could hide something like this, I needed to know how deep it really went. That night I tested her. Not directly, not aggressively, just enough. "Do you ever work late with anyone?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. She didn't even pause. "Sometimes," she said. "Just my colleague, Adrian. Deadlines, you know? Adrian." Now he had a name. I nodded like it made sense. "You trust him?" She gave a small laugh. "Of course. He's just a colleague. Just a colleague." The words sounded simple. Too simple. I watched her carefully. She didn't look at me when she said it. That stuck with me. Later, in bed, she turned away, scrolling through her phone, smiling. Not at me. At something or someone on that screen. I lay there, staring into the dark. The photos replayed in my head. The receipts. The dates. The lies. I felt anger building inside me. Sharp. Immediate. But I didn't let it out. Because something didn't make sense. If this was just an affair, why keep the evidence? Why not destroy it completely? Unless she thought she didn't need to hide anymore. And that thought scared me more than the betrayal itself. I stopped reacting. Instead, I started watching. It didn't take long to notice the changes. She guarded her phone more than before, took calls in other rooms, stayed up later, smiled more but never at me. I started keeping track. Quietly. What time she left. When she came back. What excuses she used. And then I compared them to the receipts. They matched. Every time. That should have been enough. But it wasn't. Because then I saw something else. A charge on our joint account. Higher than usual. Out of place. I asked casually. "What's this one?" She barely looked at it. "Work expense. I'll get reimbursed." She didn't. So I went back. Checked older statements. More charges. Same pattern. Same dates as the hotel stays. That's when it hit me. She wasn't just lying. She was spending our money. On him. I sat there, staring at the numbers. Trying to understand why. Why risk something like that? Unless she didn't think it mattered anymore. And if she didn't think it mattered, then she was already planning something bigger. I needed to know who Adrian was. Not just his name. Everything. It didn't take long to find him. Same company. Same department. I found his photo online. It was him. The same man from the envelope. Confident. Well-dressed. The kind of man people trust easily. Too easily. I kept digging. There were small signs. Comments. Old posts. Nothing obvious. But enough to see a pattern. Short relationships. Rumors. People hinting at things without saying them directly. This wasn't new for him. That part didn't surprise me. What surprised me was her. My wife had never been reckless. She was careful. Thought things through. So why him? That question stayed in my head. Because this didn't feel like a mistake. Felt like a choice. That night she came home late again. "Busy day," she said. I smiled. "You've been working hard." She looked relieved. And that's when I understood something important. She believed me. She believed I didn't know. And the more she believed that, the more dangerous her next move could be. I decided to push a little. Nothing obvious. Just enough to test her memory. You came home early last Thursday, right? I asked casually. She froze. Just for a second. Then she smiled. Yeah, I think so. She didn't know. Because she wasn't here. I nodded like it didn't matter. But inside, something shifted. She wasn't just lying. She was forgetting her own lies. That meant one thing. This had been going on for a long time. Later that night, I opened the envelope again. The earliest receipt was almost a year old. A year. I sat there in silence, thinking about everything that happened in those 12 months. All the normal days, all the conversations, all the moments that felt real, and realizing they weren't, or at least, not to her. Still, I didn't confront her, because now I understood her pattern. And once you see the pattern, you can predict the next move. But one question stayed with me. What exactly was she building behind my back? I started following the money. That's where things changed. First, it looked normal. Small expenses. Nothing unusual. But then I noticed transfers. Subtle. Spread out. Easy to miss if you weren't looking closely. And they led somewhere. A separate account. Not hidden completely. Just quiet enough to avoid attention. I stared at the transactions. They weren't random. They were planned. Growing over time. Carefully built. That's when it clicked. She wasn't just spending. She was saving. Preparing. For something. Or someone. Adrian wasn't just an affair. He was part of something bigger. But something didn't add up. If she trusted him so much, why keep control of the money herself? Unless she didn't fully trust him either. That thought stayed with me, because it changed everything. She wasn't acting on emotion. She was acting on strategy. And if this was a strategy, then I needed one of my own. The shift came suddenly. She snapped at me over nothing. You never listen, she said sharply. I stayed calm. I was just asking. You're always asking, she cut in. It's exhausting. I nodded slowly. This wasn't guilt. This was something else. Projection. She needed me to feel like the problem, so she wouldn't have to feel like the one causing it. That told me everything I needed to know. She didn't think she was wrong. She thought she deserved this. Later that night, I heard her on the phone. Her voice was softer, careful, not like someone hiding, like someone planning. I didn't move, didn't react, but something inside me changed. Completely. If she wanted to rewrite the story, I would let her, right up until the ending. Because now I understood. This wasn't about love anymore. It was about control. I met with a lawyer. Quietly. I didn't accuse anyone. I didn't explain everything at once. I asked questions. What happens if one partner hides money? What if there's proof of misuse? The answers were clear. Documentation matters. Timing matters. Control matters. I left that meeting with something I didn't have before. A plan. A real one. At home, she acted normal again. Too normal. Cooking. Smiling. Talking like nothing was wrong. Like the life we had was still real. I played along. Because now I understood her. She wasn't confused. She was calculating. And she thought she was ahead. That was her mistake. Because the moment someone thinks they're ahead, they stop being careful. And I was waiting for the moment she slipped. I went back to searching. Not for answers anymore. For leverage. And I found it. Another envelope. Hidden better this time. Tucked away where no one would casually look. Inside were documents. Not receipts. Plans. Apartment listings. Budgets. Notes. A timeline. Step by step. I read every word slowly. Carefully. And then I saw the line that changed everything. Make sure he doesn't suspect anything. I stared at it for a long time. Not angry. Just clear. She wasn't planning to leave someday. She was preparing for it. Carefully. Deliberately. I closed the envelope. Because now I knew everything I needed to know. She wasn't just leaving. She was planning to take as much as she could with her. I started making moves. Small ones at first. Nothing obvious. I separated accounts quietly, moved money where it needed to be. Nothing illegal, just controlled. I also started documenting everything. Dates, transfers, conversations, a timeline, stronger than hers. Meanwhile, she continued like nothing had changed. Late nights, soft excuses, that same name showing up on her phone. Adrian. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. That confidence again. But now I saw it clearly. It wasn't strength. It was carelessness. And carelessness creates mistakes. And all I needed was one big mistake to finish everything. I looked deeper into Adrian. And what I found surprised me. He wasn't stable. There were signs everywhere once I looked closely. Debt issues, short relationships, people describing him as charming but unreliable. That told me everything. He wasn't building a future. He was chasing moments. And my wife, she thought he was something more. But I saw it clearly now. He wasn't her escape. He was her risk. And she didn't even realize it. For the first time since all of this started, I felt calm. Because I knew something she didn't. When things got complicated, he wouldn't stay. And when he walked away, she would have nothing left to stand on. She made a mistake. A simple one. She left her email open. I didn't hesitate. I read everything. Messages between her and Adrian. But also something worse. Messages about me. She called me predictable. Easy. Convenient. She said she stayed because it was safe. Not because she wanted to. I read every word. Slowly. Without reacting. Because anger wouldn't help me. Clarity would. This wasn't a sudden change. This was who she had become. And now I had everything. Proof of the affair. Proof of the money. Proof of intent. I closed the laptop quietly. Because now there was nothing left to discover. The only thing left was deciding when to end it. Something changed in me. Not outside. Inside. I stopped hoping. Stopped questioning. Stopped expecting anything from her. And she noticed. "Are you okay?" she asked one night. I smiled. Better than ever. She looked confused. Because she expected something else. Emotion. Weakness. Reaction. But I gave her none of that. And for the first time, I saw doubt in her eyes. A small crack. The kind that grows over time. I watched her carefully. Because everything was ready now. The evidence. The plan. The timing. All of it. There was nothing left to build. Only something left to execute. And she had no idea. Because the life she thought she controlled was already starting to slip through her hands. I didn't have to wait long. She made the move herself. "I might have to travel next week," she said casually, like it meant nothing. I nodded. "Work?" "Yeah, just a short trip." But I already knew. The dates matched the plan I found in her envelope. This wasn't work. This was her next step. Testing what it would feel like to be away from me. Without consequences. I kept my voice calm. "You should go. You've been working hard." She smiled. Relieved. That relief told me everything. She wasn't worried about hurting me. She was worried about getting caught. That night, I went back to the second envelope. Her timeline was clear. Trip first. Distance next. Exit after that. Everything planned. Everything calculated. But she made one mistake. She wrote it down. And now I knew exactly when everything would happen. I closed the envelope and leaned back. No anger. No panic. Just focus. Because now, I wasn't reacting anymore. I was waiting for the exact moment to end it all. The next morning, I met my lawyer again. This time, I didn't hold anything back. I showed him everything. Photos, receipts, bank transfers, her written plan. He went through it slowly, carefully. "This is solid," he said. "Very solid." I stayed quiet. "What do you want from this?" he asked. I didn't hesitate. "I want to walk away clean. Not revenge. Not chaos. Just control." We built the final strategy. Protect assets. Limit exposure. Prepare everything legally before she could act. Timing would decide everything. At home, she was packing. Careful. Quiet. like someone who believed they were about to start a better life. "Don't wait up," she said with a small smile. I nodded. "I won't." For the first time, I meant something different. Because while she thought she was leaving for a trip, I knew she was walking straight into the moment that would end everything. And once she stepped into that moment, there would be no way back. She left early, suitcase ready. No hesitation. I stood at the door and watched her go. No argument, no questions, just silence. As soon as she was gone, I moved. I secured everything. Accounts adjusted. Access limited. All legal. All precise. Nothing emotional. Just protection. A few hours later, I confirmed what I already knew. She checked into a hotel. With him. Adrian. I didn't need proof anymore. I had enough. But this mattered for timing. Because every move she made now strengthened my position. That night I sat alone. For the first time in months, the house felt quiet. Not empty. Clear. No pretending. No guessing. Just truth. And in that silence, I realized something. I wasn't waiting for her anymore. I was waiting for the right moment to finish this. Because she thought she was moving forward. But she had already stepped into the trap. She came back 2 days later. Relaxed. Smiling. Different. "How was the trip?" I asked. "Busy," she said quickly. "Exhausting." The lie didn't even try to hide. I nodded. "I'm glad you're back." She looked at me for a second, like she was trying to read something. But there was nothing to read. I wasn't reacting anymore. That unsettled her. I could see it. That night, she checked her bank account. Paused. Then checked again. "Did something change?" she asked. I looked up calmly. "Just organizing things." She didn't push. But I saw it. That small shift in her expression. Not panic. Not yet. But doubt. For the first time, she wasn't completely sure anymore. And once doubt enters, control starts to disappear. She started watching me. More questions. More attention. "You've been distant," she said. I shrugged. "Just thinking." That answer bothered her. Because thinking meant awareness. And awareness meant risk. That night, I heard her on the phone again. Her voice was lower this time. More urgent. "We might need to move faster," she whispered. That confirmed everything. She felt it. The shift. She knew something was off. But she didn't know what. And that fear made her impatient. And impatience leads to mistakes. I stayed quiet. Let her believe she still had time. Because the more she rushed, the more she would expose. And I was waiting for the mistake that would end everything. It didn't take long. She tried to move a large amount of money. More than usual. More than safe. But this time, it didn't go through. I watched her reaction carefully. Confusion first. Then frustration. Then anger. "Why isn't this working?" she said. More to herself than to me. Then she turned. "What did you change?" I walked over slowly. "Nothing you shouldn't expect," I said. Her eyes narrowed. "What does that mean?" I looked at her directly. "It means things aren't as easy to move anymore." Silence filled the room. Heavy. Uncomfortable. For the first time, she didn't look confident. She looked unsure. Because she realized something important. She wasn't the only one making moves. And once she realized that, everything started to fall apart. I didn't wait anymore. I placed the first envelope on the table. Her eyes locked onto it instantly. Her face changed. "I found it," I said. No anger. No raised voice. Just truth. She didn't speak. Didn't move. Then she tried. "It's not what you think." I placed the second envelope next to it. "With your plan," I added. That ended it. Completely. She sat down slowly. Because she understood. Everything was exposed. Everything was known. And there was no way to fix it with words. But I wasn't finished. Not even close. I laid everything out. One piece at a time. The timeline. The money. The messages. No emotion. Just facts. She tried to interrupt. "I felt stuck," she said. "I needed more." I nodded slowly. "More what?" I asked. She hesitated. Then said it. "More excitement." more control, more life. That was the truth. Not love. Not confusion. She didn't fall into this. She chose it. She wanted something new, something easy, something that made her feel in control again. And she used me to build it. I looked at her quietly. So you planned it, I said. She didn't answer. She didn't have to, because now it wasn't about what she did, it was about what would happen next. The next day, everything started collapsing. Her access was limited. Her accounts restricted. Her plan broken. And Adrian, he changed. Fast, distant, cold. When things got complicated, he stepped back. Because he was never there for responsibility. He was there for convenience. She called him again and again. No answer. Then one message. We should slow down. That was it. That was her future. Gone in one sentence. I watched it happen without saying a word. Because this was never about revenge. It was about reality catching up. And now she had nowhere left to go. She tried everything. Apologies. Tears. Promises. I made a mistake, she said. I looked at her calmly. No, I said. You made a plan. That difference mattered. Mistakes happen fast. Plans take time, effort, intention. She broke down. Not because she lost me, but because she lost everything she built behind my back. The control, the future, the illusion. And I felt something I didn't expect. Not anger, not satisfaction, just closure. Because I had already moved on. Mentally, emotionally, completely. And now there was only one thing left to do, end it properly. The process was simple, because I prepared for it. Everything was documented. Everything was clear. There were no surprises, no hidden advantages, no last-minute tricks. She walked away with far less than she expected, because the life she planned was never real to begin with. And me? I walked away with something better. Stability, peace, clarity. I didn't look back, because there was nothing left there for me. She stood on the other side of it all, alone, because the person she trusted was gone, and the person she used was no longer there. But the real ending wasn't about her, it was about what I became after. Months later, everything felt different. Not perfect, but real. I rebuilt slowly, on my terms. No rushing, no pretending. And I learned something I wish I understood earlier. People don't suddenly betray you. They show signs. Small ones. Quiet ones. We just choose to ignore them. She didn't do this because she was lost. She did it because she wanted control, excitement, an easier path. But shortcuts always come with a cost. And eventually, that cost catches up. I didn't win because I exposed her. I won because I stayed calm. I paid attention. And I prepared. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. The truth doesn't need noise to win. People who plan betrayal often plan their own downfall. Never ignore small signs, they always lead somewhere. The best revenge is walking away stronger, not louder. If you were in my place, would you confront immediately or wait later?